Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we squander all of our gratitude crystals determining the best NPC in Skyward Sword. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my favorite NPC on this podcast, Mark Mitchell. I mean, from my perspective, you're an NPC.
Yeah, completely.
Right. And from your perspective, I am an NPC.
That's right.
In your life.
That's right. Even though it seems sometimes like we are 100% totally in sync,
right?
We are, in fact, making choices of our own all the time.
Here's an interesting thought experiment. In the listener's mind, we're both NPCs in their world.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Is this the premise of Free Guy?
Are we in the
movie?
Matrix? Yeah, it's right that he's an NPC. And like he gets woken up and has to like not be a playable character of his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lego movie.
Yeah, I guess that is sort of the Lego movie as well. Is it also kind of her? Is her kind of that as well? Except from the perspective of the person who's just in love with the voice that is like gaining sentience.
Interesting. And when we say the Truman Show is also this?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, and like Silence of the Lambs.
Well, in a way,
right.
That movie of like the train coming towards the screen.
Right. What we're saying is all stories are Free Guy. Every single one.
That's right.
It's the prototypical story that we were telling around campfires.
I mean, if it's the perfect story to tell, why tell any other story? Every movie should be Free Guy is what I'm saying.
Right. So speaking of things that are basically Free Guy, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch, would you like to borrow it? You can. Or at least you can try. All you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. There may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in there. That's just one of the things that can happen. You play whatever game is in there for as long as you want. You send it back. I pay for postage both ways. Get on that list. Participate in the program.
Another thing you can do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it so much when you do. It helps people find the show. It helps grow the Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you leave us a review on the US Apple Podcast Store, we can see it, and so we will give you a shout-out on the show. We love to give people shout-outs. If you leave us a review anywhere else or you share the show some other way, let us know. Send us an email, hit us up on Twitter. We'll give you a shout-out as well.
Yeah, we're not picky with like how you interact with the show. If it's like if your podcatcher has like a rating of stars, great, give us stars. If you can only like fave it, then go ahead and fave it. If you had to like rate it on a scale of 1 to 7 rainbows, like go ahead and do that. We always appreciate it. March, which is upon us, is Kirby month. We will be spending the whole month playing and talking about Kirby games. Mark and I are no strangers to the Kirby franchise, but we need your input. So if you have memories, Kirby-related memories, not just any old memory, it's got to be related to a Kirby video game in one way or another, or if you have suggestions for games you would like us to play or talk about, or things in the Kirby universe that you would like us to talk about, please email us nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter or any of the number of ways that you know how to get in touch with us. We know you know how to do that. We know it. I'm very excited, Mark. Kirby month is it's upon us.
Yeah, it's basically here, which thank you to everybody who has sent in memories and ideas for the month. If you have those that you want to share, please get them in soon because like Patrick was saying, March will be here before you know it. And we kind of are beginning to shape out what Kirby month is going to be, but we're always open to different ideas.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Should we announce what our first Kirby month show is going to be?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this will be 2 weeks from today. We are going to be digging deep into the 3DS classic Kirby Planet Robobot. So if you would like to play along with us or just, kind of brush up on what Robobot is all about before that episode comes out, you now have the opportunity to do so. All right, Mark, are you ready to get into what we're talking about today?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
We've got a task. Let's get into it. Let's determine the best NPC in The Legend of Zelda, The Skyward Sword. Now, Mark, I would say that one of my favorite episodes that we have ever done on this show was when we determined the greatest Zelda NPC of all time with Omar Najam. And we had a great conversation talking about a lot of NPCs from all over the Zelda canon, with kind of one huge exception. We didn't talk about any characters from The Legend of Zelda: The Skyward Sword.
No, I mean, Skyward Sword has been such a blind spot for us until Skyward Sword HD came out, and we both had an opportunity to play it.
Right. So, I mean, now I feel like we are going to go about righting this wrong and determining, not that we are then going to then, pit it against the best Zelda NPC.
No.
Right. But just as an exercise on its own, I think this is important because the characters in Skyward Sword are very, as they are in lots of Zelda games, they're very unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're specific. They have personalities and voices, and they're all weirdos. The Zelda is famous for having a bunch of weirdos in it, and Skyward Sword is no slouch in this regard. Just packed to the gills with weirdos that you visit and revisit, and they become weirder. They reveal layers of themselves to you, where you're like, oh, I thought you were a macho jock, and now I understand you're a noble warrior.
Yeah, no, they're all weird, stinky little onions.
Yes, that's right. And so Mark and I have both finished this game now, and we've peeled back as many layers of these onions as we possibly could. So I think we are finally in a position to determine which one of these is the greatest. And this is not a ranking, right? But our findings will, of course, be definitive. And the way in which we are going to approach this is we have got a list of characters in Skyward Sword from the Zelda fandom wiki, and we are going to go through every single one and determine whether or not they should be in the conversation for best, whether they meet any of the qualifications where either one of us wants to vouch for them and say I want to dig in deeper.
Yeah, I feel like because in that original best Zelda NPC episode with Omar that we even took listener suggestions.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I don't think anybody from Skyward Sword came up. But I feel like to kind of, as a mea culpa to leaving that out, we're going to dig into all of the Skyward Sword NPCs, even the ones that normally I don't think would enter the conversation.
Will there be some characters in here that we say, who is that to each other?
What do they do?
And then do some quick Googling.
How are they different from the other one?
I mean, that for sure. But we will mention every single character by name in this episode. And
that is on the Zelda fandom wiki.
That's right.
We're not doing our own research. So if one is missing, leave your angry comments there. Yeah.
Right. Well, and also how many ancient robots are there? They each have a different number. We're really just gonna mention the one scavenger one and the one that drives the boat. That's it.
Yep.
But Mark, right off the bat, I think we need to address there are 3 characters, I think, in this game that are technically playable characters. Link, obviously, a playable character. So he will not be in this conversation. But point of controversy, Fi.
This is one that I thought about before we started to record this. How are we going to handle Fi?
Yeah.
So Fi is the sword character, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the personification of the sword, a sword demon, goddess.
Yeah,
right.
Like a poltergeist. It's not clear. She is the spirit of the sword, right? And obviously has a personality and a life outside of the sword as well.
Physical manifestation.
Yeah, totally. But she is your sword, right? And you frequently use buttons and motion controls to control her. So is she an NPC.
Well, okay. Point of order.
Okay.
Within our original point of
Right.
order.
We'll get it back to the first point of order after we address this one.
Are you controlling, as the player,
Yeah.
are you controlling Fee or are you controlling Link, who is manipulating the sword?
That's whew. Okay. That's a great question. Maybe you're not controlling her. I mean, you are pushing buttons that like summon her out of the sword
Yeah, that is true.
to talk to you.
Yeah, that's right. And Link isn't really taking action. And even if Link, okay,
Yeah.
to my original question, now I'm questioning it myself.
Yes.
Like the fact that, let's say it is true that you are not playing as Fee, that you are controlling Link, who is then controlling
Yes.
Fee. Does that really make a difference, having that like layer of separation?
Yeah, this is a great question because like, would we also count Link's loft wing? I know we're not gonna. There are gonna be no loft wings on this list. But if there were, that's a character we're controlling, even though we're controlling Link on top of it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't recall. Was Epona like one of our? But Epona is like. I'm getting myself twisted around like what the definition of playable and like who you're controlling. And who you're not controlling.
think so. I think the original point
Yeah.
is correct in that I think it is fair to say that you are controlling Fee. And I feel like whether that is like true, whether that is a definition that the entirety of the world would agree with, I feel like for our
Sure.
purposes that I think that's a fair distinction to make.
I will agree with you, and partially because Fee has the sort of like added both baggage and benefit of literally always being with you. So like it's a constant presence that none of the other characters have. So like you just have so much more with her that like I just don't want to deal with that baggage. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And also,
are we making excuses already? Maybe.
Have you listened to this show before? But no, I agree. I think that Fee should not be in the conversation for best NPC in Skyward Sword. I do, even though we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday after I had finished the game, I do want to just say that I know that Fee has a bad reputation, and that totally could have been earned because of like interrupting the game and giving too many hints in the Wii version. Could have absolutely been earned. My experience with Fee was generally very positive. Like I didn't find the character annoying, and at the end I thought like her relationship with Link was touching.
Yeah, well, and I guess this is as good a point as any to say that in this conversation we are going to freely spoil anything that happens
great point.
in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. As you know, Mark alluded to, at the end he found Link and Fee's relationship to be touching. It's because she leaves him at the end, and she like, you know, is like, I'm glad that we went on this adventure together, and says goodbye, and it is like it's moving.
Yeah.
All right, so Fee not in the conversation, not eligible for best NPC. Groose.
So Groose starts the game as like the bully of Skyloft, kind of picking on Link, has a crush on Zelda, is upset that Link and Zelda have like a friendship and a connection that he doesn't have.
Right. And like tries to insert himself into that, and like he also thinks that he's like, he thinks very highly of his like flying and like Sky Knight abilities, and all of this stuff. Then he gets sent down to the surface, and there is humbled a little bit by what he finds there. He develops a nice relationship with, here's another huge spoiler for the game, with Impa, the old woman who is guarding the temple, the sacred temple. And then at one point you are fighting that thing. What is it? It's like the
I couldn't remember it on Tuesday when we were talking about it.
Right,
I can't remember it now, but it's like it's not immortal, but it's like something like that.
Right.
It's this big whale looking.
It's a whale with feet, and you have to hack its toenails off or something. But during some of those encounters, you can switch over to control Groose, who is like around the perimeter of this pit, shooting cannonballs into it. So you can momentarily control Groose. And I think this is not a gray area. You are no longer controlling Link at this point. It is just Groose that you're controlling. Now, So he is temporarily playable. However, I think he should be in the conversation for best NPC. What Mark, what you're making a face?
The Imprisoned.
The Imprisoned.
Yeah,
yes.
that's the name of the big like scaly whale.
Scaly whale.
But I think I really liked Groos's arc, and I
Uh-huh.
think Groos is a great character.
Yes.
But I
Oh,
I
no.
think we
This
have
is-
to eliminate
this is
him.
heartbreaking.
I mean, we eliminated Fee, and we had
Right.
to jump through multiple layers of like cognitive thinking to come to like, well, is Link actually controlling, or is it an NPC? Like whatever. But I think Groos is unequivocally
a playable
character within the game, not the entire time, but is a playable character. As much as I enjoy Groos's growth,
Yeah.
I just don't think that he can be in the conversation.
Wow. Okay. So first huge domino to fall. Groos no longer eligible for best NPC.
But a great character, and
One of the best story arcs.
yeah,
in,
I mean,
in the
yes,
game.
we have come to bury him, but we should. I do feel like we should spare a few words for Groos. First, Groos, go see a doctor. You have yellow eyes, buddy.
Oh yeah, no, it's a real problem. He is jaundiced as all get out. He's also way too big. Like he's just so much taller than everyone else. Is he a child like the rest of them? I don't think he is. I think this is a full-grown adult who's going to like child Sky Knight school.
But the thing that is
Yeah.
nice about Groos is that he does he starts out as this like pompous character that's a little bit of a bully, and I don't know, when he first showed up, I was like, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I never need to see Groos and his gang of friends ever again.
I was even, upon meeting Groos, I was kind of even dreading a redemption arc. Like, I was kind of like, don't try to get me to like this guy.
Yeah.
And then they did it.
Yeah.
By humbling him so completely. The scene where he gets down to the surface and is like wowed by trees and like a forest.
Yeah, and that's one thing that is an important point with Skyward Sword, is that in, the sky where all these characters are from, they haven't been to the ground.
Right.
They haven't been to the Hyrule below.
Yeah, it's a real touch grass moment for Groos, right? And it changes him because I you try to imagine like what that actually is for those characters that have spent all of their life on this tiny island floating in the sky. Sure, they fly around in the clouds, and land on even smaller islands. But that Groos has never seen a desert. He's never seen an ocean. Like everything is new to him. So it's got to be like a life view changing experience, and it's cool to see Groos experience that because like Link doesn't really, right? Like,
right.
Sort of, it's on the player to feel that difference. But for the player, you just like want to get to the next area, right? And there's a world beneath the clouds because that's where you live. And so yeah, like Groos is how we as a player like can actually experience the majesty of that moment.
And I also think what really, for me, the thing that I liked about Groos's story, that I feel like you see less often, because seeing the bully turn, like you're saying, like already kind of dreading the redemption arc.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed his relationship with old lady Impa.
Yeah,
and that he is like wants to protect her and cares about her and making sure that she's safe, and like that sort of connection was unexpected, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah, especially when you only ever see like his relationships otherwise are like sort of predatory with Zelda, obnoxiously competitive with Link, and then just like he's got a gang of like cronies that like do whatever he says on Skyloft, and he doesn't seem like he's good to them,
right?
So that he is just genuinely serving Impa, and he's not getting anything out of it other than just like love and respect, is a beautiful
It was
thing.
so nice.
It's such a great character arc. Groos, I'm sorry, you are not eligible for best NPC.
Maybe someday we'll do a mini ranking of the best playable character in Skyward Sword.
Wow. Or we could just do like a best playable character in Zelda.
Ooh.
I mean, mostly that's Link.
But as we're finding out,
almost
not
exclusively. Almost though.
A puzzle for another day.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Are there any other points, Mark, of controversy here? Any other characters that you think you could argue are playable?
Not that I can think of. Maybe as we go through it, we will change our minds, but I really can't think of any more.
What about the Scrapper droid?
So I don't think you actually play as a scrapper droid.
You just call him down.
You're
Right,
you're calling him down, but otherwise you don't you don't even really tell him what to pick up. It's all scripted.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. That's great. I think we should just start going through these characters as they are listed on the characters in Skyward Sword Zelda fandom wiki.
I think so too. Do we want to start at like the bottom at kind of the most anonymous and then work our way to the more interesting characters?
Yeah, so that means that we will be starting on the Lanairu province. First of all, let's get some agreement there. Is that how I say that word?
I am fine with that. I think you could ask 10 people and get 12 different ways of saying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I am completely content for us to go with that pronunciation.
Well, so let's. This is the sort of desert area.
Probably my least favorite area in the game.
Here's the thing: I love the like time shifted element. I love seeing the broken down robots that are then like restored when you travel back in time. But it is sort of the least alive of all the places. Even with the you go back in time and it's like there's some greenery, but like it's still kind of a desert, and those robots aren't alive. They're robots. But let's start with one of those robots, LD301N, Skipper. This is the robot who, the ancient robot who drives the boat. Wait a minute. Do you control him when you're controlling the boat, or are you controlling Link? Shoot.
I feel like it must be the Skipper that you're controlling because Link isn't. Wow, I can't believe the first one
that we
start with is another. I think that's true. Because there's no way that you are controlling Link, and even if you are controlling Link, who is manipulating the Skipper, we eliminated Fee for that.
Right? Yeah.
So.
All right, sorry, LD301N, the Skipper.
Goodbye to you and your cute hat.
I mean, this is something that we have to talk about, though, is that all of these robots are pretty cute, right?
Yeah.
Just like generally speaking, it's a cute character design. All they are is like a bowling pin and like two hands connected with electricity. But this one wears a hat.
Yeah, it's like, like a big sailor
like a pirate hat. Yeah.
Pirate hat. And well, see you later.
Man, what a shame.
Yep.
He is absolutely a playable character. Man, that one hurts. Okay, so then now we are going to move to Lanairu itself, which is the like ancient dragon spirit that lives on the Lanairu province. Mark, I'm going to go ahead and say let's talk about all of these dragon spirits together.
Yes.
Because I can sort of categorically say that I think their designs are weird and off-putting in a way that I like their presence in the game, but I will never make an argument that they should be best NPCs, any of the three of them.
No, I actually think your description of their art design is perfect. I really so the first one that you see in the game is Pharaon, which is like the water dragon, and this one I like. This one I don't find off-putting. The other two, as with a lot of the character designs in this game, they're like off-putting in a charming way, but still off-putting. So yeah, I'm none of them would be in contention for my favorite.
One thing that I do like about Lanairu is that when you meet him, you like meet a skeleton of him, and you have to travel into the past to talk to like the ancient, like still alive version.
Yeah,
of
that
him.
was fun.
That is cool. And like having to manipulate the time stones to make that all work. But yeah, so we will bring up the other dragons as we encounter them, but I think none of them are in the running for the best character or best NPC in the game. Next up, we've got a Goron named Gortrum. Mark, I don't remember.
So Gortrum is the one that he's running the rickety coaster mine. So there's the part where you I guess the coaster cart wouldn't count as a favorite NPC either because you're controlling that.
Because you're controlling the coaster cart for
But
sure.
yeah, where basically you're on a roller coaster and you have to use the motion controls if you're playing with motion controls to keep like Link on the track.
Yeah.
Because he'll lean too far one way or the other. It's a kind of like a fun section, but I would not in a million years have been able to tell you that the proprietor was named Gortram.
Yeah, neither would I. Let's talk about the two other named Gorons, even though one of them it doesn't appear here. But Golo, who is Golo? Oh, he's the assistant to the archaeologist Gorko, and is researching the legend of the three dragons. Okay. I couldn't remember this guy, so I'm going to say that Golo is not in our list of potential.
Is Golo the one who is like the researcher that follows you through the entire game?
No, that's Gorko.
Okay, so he's just Gorko's assistant?
Yeah.
Yeah, Golo, see you later.
Get out of here, Golo. But let's talk Gorko. Because you meet Gorko first in Faron Woods, right? And it is disarming to see a Goron in the forest. And it's the first time you're on the surface, and it's the first time you're encountering a Goron. There's something very like just sort of surreal about it, and I like how he pops up in various places. He, as we mentioned in our determining the best Zelda NPC, represents the like weirdo merchant character, or at least one of them in this game. Is that he's like the traveling merchant. He sells you stuff. I like Gorko. I don't know how much of a spirited defense I could give him when we get deep into it, but I think he should be in contention for our best NPCs in Skyward
I think so
Sword.
too. I like Gorko as well. I like that he's like a scholarly Goron, like that he is traveling the surface because he's interested in the ancient civilizations that used to live there and is just trying to find out more. So he's like, when he sees Link, he's like, hey, you're like gonna go do this thing, will you check this out? And then you come and like bring him information, and he's so delighted to learn more about it. I like Gorko. I think he's fun. I think he's a good character.
Great. So Gorko is our first real contender here for the title of Best NPC in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Mark, we are now moving out of Lanairu Province and into the Eldin Province, which is, of course, the volcano. It is an area populated almost exclusively, in fact, exclusively by weird mole creatures.
Yeah, Mogmas. Little
Mogmas.
like mole rat hybrid things with big arms for digging.
Big arms for digging, and sometimes they sit on their tails, and it looks strange.
Yeah, and when I say big, I don't mean like
No, long.
long like circumference. Yeah, exactly. They're like weird arachnid arms.
Yeah, they are not. These are not girthy arms, right? They are slender.
They're like Michael Phelps arms.
There we go. We did it. So there are actually a lot of
There's
named
so many
Mogmas. I'm just gonna rattle off all of their names, and then maybe we'll pause on after I say them all. Then we'll go back. Okay. There's Zank, Knackle, Tubert, Silva, Platz, Tito, Mirko, Lead, Quartz, Gold, Cobalt, and Bronzai, sorry. There are a bunch of weirdos in here, but there are only a couple of them that stick out to me as like discrete or distinct enough characters that I want to actually talk about them. I'm going to say I want to talk about Platz and Tubert.
Yeah, no, those were the two.
Those are the two
that I was going to pull out as well. Yeah.
So Tubert are all of these characters blind, or is just Tubert? Tubert's messed up, right? He runs the game that you play in Eldin Province, where you are just like digging as fast as you can to like unearth treasure, but not unearth a bomb. And he is. These are all weirdos, but he seems like an even more like supremely weird weirdo. Doesn't he also have a strange like speaking cadence as well?
Yeah. So Tubert kind of reminds me of the Nazi doctor in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This is correct.
The one who has like the round glasses and is wearing
Totally.
the black like leather trench coat throughout the movie.
The guy who has the pendant like burned into his palm.
Yes,
palm
yeah. Like Tubert has very like mad scientist dangerous energy. He also kind of reminds me of the Mole Man character from Atlantis: The Lost Empire, the Disney movie.
Sure.
Like
Check
character
out
design.
Mark's episode of Inside the Disney Vault. for
Right,
more
where we talked
information on
about
that. Yep.
Atlantis: The Lost Empire. But yeah, so he is very kind of like short and stout, but wide as he is tall, with
Yeah.
these long arms. Is he sitting on his tail as well? It feels like
Yes,
he is.
he's definitely balancing on his tail. Most of them don't come all the way out of the ground.
Yeah.
But Tubert will come all the way out of the ground. He's also the only one wearing like clothing on his arms.
Yeah.
Does he not have fur? Is he a naked Mogma?
I think he might be like, it's difficult to tell because none of them really have like rendered fur.
Right.
But he looks the most naked mole rat-ish of them all.
He's the pinkest of them for sure.
He also has like a little mustache, which means unless he has hair on hair, he doesn't have it going on.
Point. This is a great point.
So do you think they're all sitting on their tails, but we only see it on Platz and Tubert because they're the only ones that come out of the ground?
I think that's possible, but I mean, they wouldn't even have to be sitting if they're just like in the ground, right?
A fair point, yeah.
But so let's talk about Platz a little bit. He is the other of the
Mogmas, yeah.
Mogmas that we want to talk about. This is one that like helps you later in the game and teaches you about digging like actually digging paths underground instead of just like digging down to get treasure. And he is a fraidy Mogma. He's scared of everything. He always thinks you're gonna be like some like snake thing that's gonna like eat him. And I don't know, there's just something about like the nervous scaredy cat energy that Platz brings that I kind of dig.
I like it too. He has a giant treasure chest strapped to his back, like wears it like a backpack that's full of gems and stuff. And he really likes food.
Yeah.
And so, do you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
This is another Disney animated character. It's Gus, the mouse from Cinderella.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of like scaredy.
Yep.
Bigger, rounder, loves food. I'm a fan of Platz.
There is something also about the like treasure chest strapped to his back that feels very like Happy Mask Salesman, where like he's just got this like bundle strapped to his back and he's just gonna carry that thing throughout the world. So I wanna put Platz at least, and maybe even Platz and Tubert in like our final conversation for best NPC.
I think Tubert for me I find him like off-putting a little bit.
I'm glad we talked about him, but I think you're right. We don't need to put him in.
But Platz, I would like to see
Platz
in that final conversation.
So the only other character then from the Elden Province that we have not yet talked about, the only non-Mogma, is Elden, one of the other dragons, or Eidolon. No, I was right. Elden. Another just like weird looking dragon design.
Yeah, I feel like we categorically ruled all three of them out.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Mark, we now are moving on to the Lake Floria area. Lake Floria area. There are no Zoras in this game, but there are the Parellas, which are sort of like fish people, except they are way stranger.
They're like jellyfish.
They're sort of like jellyfish, but they're also sort of like seahorses.
Yeah. Yep. They're like if a seahorse was the stick that was holding up an umbrella.
Right. And also somehow a little bit coral.
I hope that painted a picture for you listeners.
I believe the only named one is Jellyf, right?
Right. And that's the one that like you talk to and then is surprised that you can follow it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he sort of like teaches you how to swim. And is like, oh yeah, I'll take you to Pharaon, the dragon who controls this place. I got to talk about this name, Jellyf, which is spelled Jellyf, as though someone wrote jellyfish and then hit backspace 3 times. It's weird.
Hey, inspiration strikes, in many different ways.
Well, what do you think? Do you like Jellyf or
no?
No, why not?
This character, the design of the Parellas I find gross.
It's confusing.
It's like membrane-ish.
Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, I'm just not a fan.
What is that?
I actually don't mind them in the game, but I would never in a million years claim
Whoa.
that it was my favorite.
All right, then. The only other character in Lake Floria that we would have to talk about is, of course, Farron, the dragon. Again, the dragons categorically cannot be a part of this list because we find their design off-putting. Although, Mark, I will agree with you that maybe of the dragons, he is the least off-putting. And I think that is partially because you were introduced to him earliest. Like, you meet him before you even really understand that there are these dragons in all the areas. And ultimately, he just looks like those long neck aliens on Camino in Star Wars.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
He looks like a Kaminoan.
Yeah, you're so right.
Except bluer. All right, Mark, we are now moving on to the Farron Woods, where we are talking all about these the kiwi keys or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
These what are they? What are these things? Are they birds? Are they plants? Are they mammals of some kind?
I think so to me they kind of look like big fat raccoons a little bit.
They do kind of look like big fat raccoons. They're adorable. Kikwi is what they're called. They're really, really cute. I think we should try to put one of them in this conversation, but I'm not really sure which one.
So the thing that I like about these guys is that they are almost all body, and it's hilarious. They're huge, and they're just this big furry in my mind.
Yes, they're totally furry.
Just like mass with these tiny little arms and stubby little legs that look like you would screw the legs on like an IKEA coffee table.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, they're really funny. They're really cute.
Also, you say they're huge, but like only the old ones are huge, right? The younger ones are, maybe like 2 feet tall, maybe a foot and a half.
That's true, yeah.
But they have these like plant-like things growing on their backs, which they can like, duck down and cause it to like sprout out, and then it's like they're disguising themselves as a bush, which is adorable. I want to put out Ulo as a possible best NPC contender. Ulo is the Kikwi that you end up taking up to Skyloft for whoever it is that's like studying plants. And you're like, hey, check out this thing. It's kind of a plant. And he's like, ooh, I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to be your little research subject. He's very good natured about it.
I also really like Yerbal. So Yerbal is an like old man or an old Kikwi and has these long like branches kind of for hair coming off of its head. But he lives on the great tree, which he climbed up and like just chose to not come down.
Right.
And so he's thus become a hermit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very funny.
I think that's very funny too. Now that we're talking about them, and I'm glad that we discussed both Ulo and Yerbal, do either of them really like pass the test of getting to the final conversation about who is the best NPC?
I feel like the problem with all these Kikwis, which again, I really enjoy their existence, but they don't do anything in the game. Like, they talk to you, but they don't really otherwise have like, for the most part, their personality is, I was going to say interchangeable, but most of them don't even really have personality, maybe scared. Maybe like childlike a little bit, but... And
I know that that's one of the reasons why we liked Platts, is that he is a little bit of a scaredy cat, but there's more to him than that. But yeah, I'll agree. I don't really think any of them belong in the conversation. So I'm glad that we talked about a couple of them, but I think we have to move on to the next sort of category here, which the... Zelda Wiki is just listing as the surface, and there are 3 characters listed here, one of which we've already talked about, which is Gorko. Gorko's on the list. Let's start with Impa.
So there's 2 iterations of Impa in this game, which we will just count as one character, probably.
Yeah, I
because
think
they
so.
are one character. It's just 2. You see them at 2 different stages of their life. So there's like young Impa, who is this warrior and protector of Zelda when she crosses through like the Gate of Time. And then there's old lady Impa, who is just the old woman through the majority of the game, and at the very end, when in the past part of the Gate of Time,
Yeah.
Zelda has to leave to return to the normal timeline. She says goodbye to Impa, the young Impa, who is her protector, and in order for Impa to remember her, Zelda leaves her one of her bracelets.
Yeah.
And then, they go through the Gate of Time and they see the old woman who they now realize is wearing one of Zelda's bracelets and has been the entire time, and is in fact Impa as an old woman.
I love this. I love the sort of Impa as both an old woman and like a young warrior. Like I feel like that has been something that the series has just sort of accidentally done forever, and then this game like sort of makes that duality like canon, like a fundamental part of the game. And then it's neat to see that also like reflected in the Breath of the Wild series, in that you get young Impa in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and you meet old lady Impa in regular old Breath of the Wild. Like I think that is now a baked in part of her character, but it is only in Skyward Sword that is established that she can be both in one iteration.
Yeah, I do really like that. I also like that in the game, even before, like, when you realize that the old woman is Impa, you're like, oh, like, she has been acting as protector this whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like 10,000 years,
yeah,
right?
it's like the knight in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
Indiana Jones getting a lot of play today.
That's just
Let's see if we can get a Temple of Doom reference in here.
That's just been well, of course, the character whose heart gets ripped out when we get there. But no, like Impa, yeah, I really like this character. I liked that connection at the end. I think Impa's physical transformation from warrior, where she's like very tall and powerful, and then the old woman has been like shriveled like a raisin, is maybe 3 feet tall, wearing an enormous hat.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just hypermenopause, right? over centuries. I mean, it is how we've seen like the sort of like difference in the shape of that character throughout the series. And it's just yeah, I know this isn't the only place that we know Impa from, obviously, but I think this does one of the better jobs of.
I like this iteration a lot.
Her. So she is in she will be in our final conversation. Next up, Girahim. Let's talk about this weirdo now.
Super weird.
Mm-hmm.
So Girahim, if you'll recall our conversation when we both first started playing this game, I was a little not sure what to make of Girahim. And part of that is like his introduction, I felt was Girahim is very queer coded in this game.
Yeah.
And especially in the introduction, part of his menace to Link is that he is like physically very close, right? And
he's sticking his tongue out at Link and wagging it around. Oh no, Link's gonna accidentally kiss a man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like that really bugs me, because I feel like, one, it's just such overplayed trope to like queer code your character. And honestly, if you're gonna do it, have the courage of your convictions and just say he's gay.
Just say he's gay.
Like actually just like go for it.
Yeah.
And so that part really bothered me. However, they basically like drop most of that.
Yeah.
Right after that first introduction.
Well, we sort of drop most of our interactions with him after that first, because we're talking about the lead up to the boss fight in the very first temple, right, in Farron Woods, and then you have like a boss fight with him, which was one of the first times I remember being like annoyed with the way the game played, but by the time you like refight him at the end, which is really the next time that you have like, sort of extended exposure to him, all of the like gay menace there has been toned down, and he's just sort of like an interesting agent of chaos.
Yeah,
I'm totally mixed on.
I feel really conflicted about this whole thing, because part of me is, again, like I said, like just go for it. So if you're gonna have him like do it, then to just drop it like the next time that you see him. I don't know. Girahim, I'm really torn on. One part that I think is cool that we've talked about before, and actually maybe this is our heart being ripped out Temple of Doom references at the end. Demise, who's like the ultimate bad guy in the game, he
And this is like Girahim has been like working to summon him, basically.
yeah, he's and so Girahim is killed and Demise like pulls a sword out of Girahim's like chest cavity.
Yeah, well, and it was
Another dimension, like a Mary Poppins type situation.
well, it's sort of my read that he's like taking all of the life force or all of like the being that is Girahim and turning it into this sword.
Oh, got it.
Like in my mind, I like to put Girahim and Fee into like the same category, that like Fee becomes your sword, Girahim becomes his sword. And it's not like a 1-for-1 kind of thing, but like there is something also very like interesting and compelling about a character who's like been working to like summon this great evil and then just gets used by it. Is a cool narrative arc, but like, yeah, that first impression with him is so.
I just don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do either.
I really, I did not hate the character.
Yeah,
and maybe we should just, claim Girahim as queer.
Yeah,
and just start like cosplaying him as a drag queen, or you know what I mean?
yeah,
like
absolutely.
Girahim should just become a gay icon. I think is probably the only way out of this.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's lean into it. Do you want to write him down?
Yeah, I'll write him
right.
down.
Write him down, and then he can go into our final conversation. Next up, we are moving to Fun Island. And the only character on Fun Island is, of course, the owner and proprietor of Fun Island, a horrible clown by the name of Dodo. I don't like this guy. I don't like Fun Island. I don't like going down to like pick up his Wheel of Chance. I think this guy can kick rocks. I don't care about him at all.
Yeah, Dodo sucks. He is wearing like a clown outfit with suspenders, holds a big trumpet,
big dumb hat,
and horrible hat, and is like, I guess it's a wheel that's behind him, attached to him, but it looks like a peacock display. I don't know. Dodo, get out of here with that.
Also, I gotta say, one of the mechanics that I never enjoyed engaging with in Skyward Sword was the controlling yourself as you fall.
Oh my gosh, yes. I could not figure it out for the life of me. I could not
if I wanted to play Pilot Wings, I'd play Pilot Wings.
I could not get the motion controls, or it never became muscle memory. So whatever it was, I had to do it like there's part of the game, in order to advance, you have to jump off the waterfall on Skyloft and like do this controlled fall onto a windmill so you can get a gear or whatever. And it took me like multiple times to be like, how every time I jumped off, even though I was just repeating it, I would be like, how do I do this? Like, it never felt natural. I completely agree. Fun Island, trash.
Yeah. I mean, just get out of here with it. We are done discussing Fun Island. Let's move on to Pumpkin Landing, which is an inn in the middle of the sky, a floating island in the sky, where literally all that's there is this, like, it's an inn, right? Like a bar, when maybe there is like a bedroom, but maybe that's where the owner sleeps. And a pumpkin patch out back. And like, that's it.
Also, the whole thing is shaped like a giant pumpkin.
Whole thing is shaped like a giant pumpkin. One of the best things you can do there is knock the chandelier out off the ceiling and then work to replace it. So there are 4 characters listed here as residents of the Pumpkin Landing. We've got Rusta, who's like an older gentleman who drinks too much. He is a regular at what is the actual name of the restaurant? Is it like the Leaky Pumpkin? It's something like that. Lumpy Pumpkin.
Yeah.
We've got Pum, who is the owner and proprietor of the Lumpy Pumpkin. He is always found behind the bar, always polishing a glass, and he will hold Link to account for any damage that you cause in the Lumpy Pumpkin. There's Kinna, who is usually out back at the pumpkin patch. She also sings at one point early in the game, and you have to accompany her like at the Lumpy Pumpkin.
And is Pum's daughter.
Yes, that's right. And then there's Keat, and I don't remember Keat's deal. Do you remember Keat?
No, just at the bar.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Keat looks like a child. He's described as a young man who regularly who frequents the Lumpy Pumpkin. Mark, tell me about your affection for any of these characters.
I don't really have any.
So I sort of like Pum, just in that he does like there are very few characters in the game that like give Link crap, or like Link can be an inconsiderate dude, right? He's throwing pots, he's somersaulting into stuff.
Somebody specifically asks him to not knock down the chandelier. A very simple, normal request that really somebody shouldn't even have to ask you to do.
No, it seems like common courtesy. You see a chandelier, don't knock it down. But he does it.
He does it.
And Pum, furious. But it lets you off pretty easy. Like, you have to make 2 pumpkin soup deliveries, and he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
I guess it really tells you how, like, difficult it is to deliver pumpkin soup.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Uber Eats for Skyloft, so like, you gotta work something out. But I think I agree if what you're suggesting is that we don't bring any of these into our final conversation.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are bad characters. I think, like, especially after talking about just talking about Dodo, like, in comparison, I love these guys.
Of course,
but none of them are in contention for the best.
I will say that I really like the aspect of Rusta's character. This is the sort of like drunk who is always sort of like hunched over at a table at the bar. Is that he's the one that introduces the idea to Link that there is some force that is stalking around Skyloft at night that you eventually learn is Betro. But like there's like a real life like cryptid enthusiast who like knows that there are monsters somewhere, and like, why doesn't anyone believe him? And it's because he's a drunk.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the guy that got picked up by UFOs. This is an Independence Day reference. He's Randy Quaid's character in that movie, and no one believes him because he's a horrible drunk. We can now move on to the largest gallery of NPCs, Skyloft itself. Mark, how would you like to approach this?
So I think there are a lot of characters in Skyloft who I feel like we don't even really have to linger on them. We can probably just mention them and move on. But there are a few that I really enjoyed and would want to talk a little bit more about.
All right, so let's start with just quickly addressing there are 3 and what are they called? The Sky Rescuers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Their names are Foeni, Toby, and Horg, and is Junka also one of them? Yeah, Junka is another one. So any of them, all they do is rescue you when you fall off of Skyloft. Just they're mechanical in nature, and they're not characters as far as I'm concerned. All right, Mark, why don't you lead us off here?
Okay, are we talking about? Well, can I talk about characters that I like out of this group?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about some characters. Let's talk about characters that you like.
Okay, so one character that I really enjoyed was I think it's Patrice.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So in Skyward Sword, you can only carry a limited number of items in like your inventory, and so you go into the bazaar, which is the big marketplace, and Patrice is the character who is working the desk where you check items.
Right, and she is bored.
She is bored. Constantly is just like her face in her hands.
Yep.
Wishing anything interesting would happen to her. When you come by, not big on customer service.
No.
She
until
says her little spiel.
Right.
Yes, until, and this is an important point,
mm-hmm.
She gets a crush on Link.
Which, I mean, anyone spends enough time with Link, they're going to develop, they're going to catch feelings, right? That's what Link is. He exudes sexual energy. Everyone just wants to be with him, and Patrice, who knows, is no exception. And she asks you
Uh-huh.
to be her boyfriend.
And you have the option of saying like, yes, you want to, no, you don't want to. What did you say, Patrick?
Oh, I said no.
I said no as well.
Link and Zelda forever. There's no way that and I'm not even gonna lead her on. But yeah, she's a great character. I think she should be in the running here. The one thing that for me kind of knocks that whole thing down is Peter, her father. Is a weird looking dude. He almost looks too normal, too much like a regular person in the world of Skyward Sword. That he doesn't want his daughter to date. So this is when you either accept her proposal and become her boyfriend, she gives you gratitude crystals. If you turn her down, then then her father gives you the gratitude crystals because you kept his daughter from dating, which is gross. So Peter can hit the road, but Patrice I like.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Should I call out a character that I like from Skyloft? Okay. I'm gonna go with Birdie. Who is the father or the husband in the potion making duo. They are Love and Birdie. Love is the wife who actually sells the potions and seemingly makes them, or maybe just has the recipes or whatever. They also have a newborn child who is colicky, seems to be crying all night long, and Birdie is up all night with this baby until you find a way to pacify it. And when you see them in the shop, he's got the baby in a backpack with him while he's stirring stuff into the potions. He's great. He's so sweet and supportive, and Love is the face of the potion making endeavor. But Birdie, he's the engine, man. He's the one making it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like Birdie a lot too. When I noticed that he has their child on his back,
yeah,
I just thought that was a really fun detail.
We're putting Birdie in our final list. Mark, do you have another character?
Yeah, another one I liked was Sparrow or Sparrowt. He's the short fortune teller dude.
Yeah, what a weirdo. Huge eyes, huge beautiful eyes.
He's like a big man baby. Just an enormous head, tiny little hands.
Yeah.
And you help him by getting a new crystal ball. He's just a big weirdo. I like his character design. I think he's really funny.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot.
I didn't visit him very much, just because in Zelda games I tend to stay away from the fortune tellers, just because I don't want to lose rupees on them telling me something I'd rather just discover.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's hard to miss him in the bazaar because he's just in there sitting on the ground in a little tent inside a tent, which is wild. And he's just got those big gorgeous eyes, and again a kickin' mustache on this guy.
Great mustache for sure.
Do you want to put him in contention here for best?
No, I don't think so, but a good character.
Let's see, who else do I? Well, okay. I maybe the elephant in the room and a possible contender for obviously the best NPC in the game, Batro. This is the monster man who lives under the cemetery in a little house, who wants to be more human. And so he encourages Link to do nice things for people so he can collect gratitude crystals and become human.
Mm-hmm.
I like Batro a lot.
I like Patro a lot too. Actually didn't get enough gratitude crystals to turn him human.
Neither did I.
Yeah, but ostensibly you can. I really like that he befriends. So most of the citizens are scared of him.
Yeah,
including the character I like, the Lumpy Pumpkin. But he befriends a little girl named Kukil, and who refers to him as Uncle Bats. It's pretty cute.
Let's put Kukil in the list here of possible best NPCs. I'm writing her down because she's just adorable. She's having a who can scream the loudest contest with a monster man.
She's she reminds me. It's a Boo and Sully from Monsters Inc. type of relationship.
100%. That is exactly what that is. Yeah. The other thing that I like about Batro is that being a weird demon monster thing, he is truly ushering evil into Skyloft. Because
Yeah, that's right.
when you do collect enough gratitude crystals to transform him into human, then the weird cat things don't become aggressive at night anymore, and there are no longer any monsters that attack you at night on Skyloft. Because his evil is not influencing. So, like, he is, like, don't get it twisted. He's not a good-hearted monster. He's still an evil monster.
Well, it's
but he
like-
wants to be good.
Yeah, it's almost like his. I think he is good natured. Like he genuinely wants to be friends.
Yeah.
But his nature is
Right.
such that just by existing, he attracts. Like he like causes this evil, these other monsters to be there. Batro is pretty great, and you meet him early in the game, and it's for me it was such like a clicking moment with Skyward Sword where it's like, oh yes, this is gonna have like. Because previous to this, there was a lot of story, which I enjoyed, but it was a lot of the stuff with Groose, where you're like, I've kind of seen it. Like,
Yeah.
where is this going to go? And Betro was the first kind of like weirdo NPC that is introduced that you're like, okay, I can really dig this.
Right. Like, there's something interesting happening here. So, Mark, do you want to write up Batro for one of our possible... there we go. All right. Who else on Skyloft is worth talking about? There are a lot of other characters here. Do you want to bring one up, Mark?
There's not really very many others that I like a ton. I like Rupin, who is the main merchant on Skyloft in the bazaar that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
He, is kind of a classic Zelda character type where he's very cheery, has really rosy cheeks, this smile pasted on his face, and then, when he thinks you're going to buy something, but when you aren't buying something or something goes wrong, he immediately like turns it off like a light switch.
Well, and it's not just turns it off like lights, because like he will go from manic to depressive, right? When no one's around, he's just like shoulders slumped, no one's buying anything. But if you look at something and then don't buy it, he becomes furious, and you watch this character just like swallow his rage. It's pretty funny.
It is really funny.
And I both loved it every time and like hated disappointing him.
Rupin's pretty good. I feel like let's go ahead.
Put him on the list.
Put him on the list.
Let's see. Some other characters here. I like basically all of Link's classmates. I don't know if any of them fall into the into the final conversation here, but let's bring up some of them. Let's bring up like Fledge, who is like obviously the runt of night school. And like he's just like, Link, I want to be like you. I got to do push-ups, right? Fledge is like the only way to get stronger or more like Link is to do push-ups. But he runs out of stamina, so you got to get him a stamina potion.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun little side quest throughout the game because you go there multiple times.
Yeah.
And he's like progressing each time. And at the end, he finally does like 1,000 push-ups or something like that.
Something like that. It's a lot. Also, like very rosy cheeks, as you mentioned previously. Again, I don't think I want to put him in our final conversation. What about Colin?
Which I don't even remember which one Colin is.
Colin.
Oh, it's It's Cawlin.
Right. So it's like a lot of these names, it's a both a bird pun and a regular name. So it's Colin, but with caw. Colin. So Colin has a crush on, what is her name? Like Karain. And wants you, Link, to deliver a love note to Karain. And you can do that if you want in the game, or you can throw the love note in the toilet because there's a voice in there saying, give me paper.
I chose to throw it right in the toilet.
I threw it right in the toilet. Yeah, absolutely. Karain was not going to get that love note, which then, of course, the being in the toilet reads the note, assumes that Colin wrote it for it, and then like spends its nights as a disembodied hand, just like caressing Colin's face, who never gets a good night's sleep ever again. There is no more
so
tragic
funny.
figure.
It's so funny.
It's brutal. So I mean that while I love that story, the story around that is so good. Uh, but I also sort of hate that there's a possibility that you could give his love note to its intended recipient. I hate that.
Y- Yeah, the like bad version of it. I guess it's not even really bad, but the version of it where you don't deliver the letter is really really funny though.
Yeah, really, really satisfying. There's also Gondo, who is like the repairman who can fix your shields or upgrade your gear. He's wearing some kind of like weird helmet, and he's always game, or he's like excited every time like Link comes around and like ready to upgrade something.
Yeah, the helmet that he wears kind of reminds me of like is it Owlman from Watchmen.
Sure, yeah, it is a little bit like that. But it looks like if Owlman's helmet was the face of another creature and it was just like skinned and put over it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it looks
yeah.
alive in a way that makes me uncomfortable.
Uh-huh. But no, otherwise I can't think of any other Skyloft characters that really stand out to me. Should we run through just the list of the other ones real quick?
Sure. So there's Rina. I actually don't know what the play on words here is. She's Kukiel's mother.
There is Toby, which we talked about, just one of the rescue knights.
Right. There's Pippet, who is another one of Link's classmates. He's sort of the most like normal of them. Karain has a crush on him, but other than that, these characters are a little bit. And don't Pippin's like parents brag about him or something? He goes on like patrol at night, and when you encounter his parents, they're like, "Oh, Pippet's out on patrol."
Oh yeah, there. I am just looking at this list. I'm just realizing now that the disembodied hand has a name, which is like Theony,
Is that?
Feeny.
Oh, okay, that's
And so,
that.
but it's just Phoenix without the X.
Right. So
Another classic backspace name.
There is Piper, who is the chef at the like restaurant inside the bazaar.
There is Pero, who I don't know anything about.
Pero and Oriel are the two residents of Skyloft that are really into the loft wings. So they'll like they're the ones that make you like you rescue one of them stranded like out on one of the islands that like their
got
loft wing
it.
is hurt. So they are loft wing enthusiasts, but yeah, other than that, they don't have too much personality.
Owlin, which is one of the instructors at the Night Academy, and looks like an owl.
Sure does look like an owl. I believe he is the one who is interested in plants and will study that little kiwi that you bring him. We mentioned Love as the owner of the potion shop and Bertie's wife. There's who haven't we talked about yet? Jackamar. What do you do, Jackamar? He's a repairman? I don't remember.
He's
this guy.
Kukiel's father.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Let's see. Who else haven't we talked about and is worth mentioning? Yeah. Henya is an old woman who works at the Night Academy and is a cook.
There's Horwell, who's another one of the instructors. There's Gepora, who is Zelda's father. Basically, is the King of Hyrule role here, but there are no kings on Skyloft.
There's Aegis, which is like the combat training instructor at the Night Academy. And really, I did not interact with Aegis at all, except in the very beginning when you have to do the tutorial.
Me too. And then there's Dovos and Crew, who are both the guys that just like hang out at the restaurant in the bazaar. And if you sit down next to them, they will offer to buy you a drink and then tell you about something. But you know, all sort of not characters of consequence.
So I guess there's three characters here that the Zelda fandom wiki characterizes as being in the sky. I'm not exactly sure why two of them are not part of Skyloft. That is Stritch.
Yeah. So let's talk Stritch. I guess he's just another one of Link's schoolmates.
Yeah, he's one of Groos's
goons.
Goons, yeah, this extremely tall one.
And maybe like definitely as doesn't have like an interesting story connected to him the way
Not
that
that
like,
I-
Colin does. And then is the other one that you're going to mention Beetle?
Yes.
Let's talk Beetle.
Beetle, a character who has been around since Wind Waker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And always as part of like a mobile shop, right? That he runs on his own. In this game, the mobile shop is like a flying little shack that he powers with a bicycle inside of it. Amazing, just absolutely iconic. He conducts all business from the bicycle because if he stops pedaling, his ship
It would fall.
It would fall. He also gets frustrated when you pick something up and don't buy it or leave without buying anything.
Which makes sense because you're
adding weight.
You're adding weight. So like either conduct business or get out of there.
He also has like interesting, useful stuff pretty much all the time. So it is good and fun to like shop there.
One thing, and this is not necessarily Beetle's fault, and especially not in Skyward Sword, kind of. But one thing I've always held against Beetle is that although both he and Tingle, are in Wind Waker, I feel like Beetle is more acceptable to people, and so Beetle has persisted on in ways that like Tingle, Nintendo's still a little ashamed of.
I don't think you can hold that against
and
Beetle.
Won't bring him out. And so Beetle like kind of like takes the Tingle spot though in a lot of these games, right?
Yeah. When I would say in this game in particular, there's Beetle, you got a weird haircut, buddy. And then on top of that, you're wearing like 1/8 of a shirt. What's going on with Beetle's shirt?
Hey, he's sweaty. He's biking all day.
Why wear it at all? It's like ultra short sleeves and like just the collar.
Modesty.
I
like Beetle.
I like Beetle, and I think I like this version of Beetle better than like other times that we've seen him.
He's not as obsessed. I mean, he still likes bugs.
Yes. Well, and you learn this if you go to sleep in his shop and then wake up on his private island, which is also the only way to access this thing at night because you can't go flying at night. But so if you're in his shop, there's a bed there. You can choose to lay down. And when you're on his island at night, he's like sitting by a fire, kind of like quietly like speaking to himself. And when he's alone and not in like shop mode, or maybe when he's not on a bike, honestly, maybe this is what changes it, he becomes very eloquent and starts speaking in these grand sentences that just like tumble over each other in like huge words, and it betrays an inner life and like a secret life that a lot of the rest of these characters don't have.
But that's such a good point, because I feel like that's one of the things we like so much about Zelda characters is they are weird, and not just weird, but they it feels like real that they would, in a lot of situations, like when they're conducting business and that kind of stuff, they present themselves one way, and then
or they do their best to present themselves that way.
Yeah. They have this facade. So many Zelda characters, NPCs, what makes them so appealing is they have this facade, and then you also see them like breaking the facade. It's such like a classic way to portray these characters, and it's a lot of fun, and Beetle's a great example of that.
Yeah, and like he does have that, like you said, he's obsessive about Beetles. He loses one, and you have to go on like a quest to get it back. It's all very just weirdos have their weird things that they're interested in, and like Beetle is totally one of those.
The other character in this grouping is Levios, which is a big ol' space whale.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of the windfish, right?
Yeah.
This is a cool, it may be hard to categorize it as a character, so much as just like a mythic beast in the sky.
It really is. It's this big mythic beast that's flying around in this special like stormy area of the sky, and you have to collect items from each of the 3 dragons that we talked about earlier, and then you go back to Levios and you land on his back, and now that you're getting pieces of a song from each of the dragons, then you go to Levios and you perform it, and all of the 3 dragons and Levios kind of like come together in a in this cutscene. I liked that part. I thought that part was cool.
Yeah.
But the like you said, hard to call this a character.
Yeah, I mean, he is so just like evocative though, right? Like you have to do battle with like the sort of corruption that's on him twice, like once while you're flying around and then again just like landing on his back and like fighting it off. Those are all really cool moments. I like Levias as or Levias, who knows?
Oh, it's probably Levias. I bet
Like
you're right.
like Leviathan.
Yeah.
I like him as a concept a lot. But as a character, I think he's lacking.
Yeah.
Again, glad we talked about him. Not going to be in the running here, which then leaves us with just a handful of characters left to discuss. There is Zelda.
This is surprisingly, one of my favorite versions of Zelda. Doesn't really have anything to do in the game, right? Like there's
Once the game gets going.
Yeah. But her relationship with Link, I think, is one of my favorites and one of the parts that I was really surprised that I enjoyed as much as I did. Because weirdly, like in the other games, they kind of tell you like, oh, they're friends or they have some sort of connection. But this is the only one that I can recall where it actually felt like, yeah, they are friends. Like they do care about each other.
Yeah, well, and I like that they have this like sort of shared thing of, you know, they're both raised to be what they are on Skyloft, and then discover a destiny beyond that takes them down to the surface. They have to do things they never imagined, and like Link and Zelda, you know, normally it's just kind of Link on that journey, and it's cool to see Zelda on her own version of it, and she's doing stuff. Like Link is following her and like trying to get to her, and doesn't understand the things that she's going through until like you're through the third temple or whatever, and then you're like, oh no, she has been like working to protect the sacred grounds and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like she's not, for the most part, and this goes out the window at the end, but for most of the game, you even though you are not like actively together, like in the beginning, Link is trying to find her, does not understand like the situation that she's in.
Yeah.
And so you think you're going to rescue her, but you're not really. Impa's already has that taken care of.
Right.
Like Impa's protecting her, and Impa's like, get out of here. Like you go do your thing, because Zelda's, you know, like has to stay here and do hers.
Right. You gotta fight the Girahim, dude. We're doing other stuff. All right, so other characters we have not yet addressed. The LD301S Scrapper Droid.
Hate this thing.
Yeah, he walk us through why we hate him.
He has a bad attitude.
Bad attitude.
Okay, so this Scrapper Droid, there are parts in the game where arbitrarily there's like a big item that you can't carry, but has to be transported from one place to another, and so Fee will call down this Scrapper Droid, which basically just has like these big arms that will pick it up, and then
just the biggest arms.
And then where you can, when you go back to the sky portion of the game, you can fly to whatever destination, and the Scrapper Droid will follow you. But the thing that really bugged me about it is that every time Fee is like, "Oh, I'm going to call the Scrapper Droid," so here's a cutscene, you know, of the Scrapper Droid arriving, and here's the cutscene of the Scrapper Droid picking stuff up. And I don't need any of that. I understand the utility of the Scrapper Droid after the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this entirely. And it's also like in that you summon him and there's a little cutscene and whatever. That's like the kind of thing that's wrong with Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? And that isn't really sanded out by the HD treatment of the game. I liked so much the idea of having one of these things to like help you. But it is so rigid in its implementation that like he just isn't super fun. And like you say, bad attitude. He's always complaining about stuff.
And not in like a fun, I think it's supposed to be in a fun like R2-D2 sort of way, but
we can't hear what R2-D2 is saying. We just hear like beeps and
we
little
just know
farts.
He swears a lot.
Yeah, we love it. Finally, Mark, I think we are now to the final NPC, Demise.
Demise is, you know, like the proto Ganon. Looks like Ganon, has kind of like big orange hair, but it's like fiery. It's really cool. It's like it has fire on its scalp.
And also he feels more savage than Ganon, right?
Yes.
There's like a little bit of a grace to Ganondorf where he is he's meeting with the king. He is trying to, you know, make things happen so he can eventually take over the countryside. But Demise, he just wants to wreck stuff.
Yeah, because I think Demise is straight up like a demon.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right. Doesn't have like those refinities that Ganon would eventually put. There's no real deceit, right?
No,
Demise is not trying to fool anybody. He's not Two-Faced. Like, Demise is just an agent of chaos.
Right.
I think it's a cool twist, right? When Girahim is destroyed, gets turned into this sword for Demise. But I feel like, as is kind of a problem with Ganon and Ganondorf in a lot of the Zelda games, not much of a character on its own. It's just kind of like, and here's this Ganon type bad guy at the very end, because what would this Zelda game be if one of these didn't show up?
Right. Well, and like I do like that when he is vanquished, he's like, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
In one form or another, and I will haunt the future incarnations of you until the end of time. Like, there's something so sinister and scary about
where
that
it's
kind
like,
of threat.
Yes, because he's very much like, you realize you didn't really win.
Yeah.
You're just delaying the inevitable.
Right. And then that inevitability plays out in the form of every other Zelda game that we've ever played. So there is, I like Demise a lot, but again, sort of like as a character, this is sort of falls in the call-in camp for me, where like the story around him is cool. Do I like the character? I guess probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that means then that we have our final list of possible best characters, best NPCs in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Mark, how many characters do we have here?
We have
maybe like 10?
10.
10.
11.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we have 10.
Good thing you double checked.
Not that it would have mattered, as we're about to just start eliminating characters. But let's go through who we have on the list at present. Starting with...
I think you're wrong. I think we do have 11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, you're right. We have 11. All right. So here they are in no order. Gorko, the Goron.
Rupin.
Platz, the
Mogma.
Mogma.
Petrice.
Birdie.
Beetle.
Girahim.
Batro.
Impa.
Kukil.
And Zelda. Oh boy, we got some heavy hitters in here. And I think maybe just like worth acknowledging that we have a couple characters here that are like mainstays in the series, specifically Zelda and Impa.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that changes the way I feel about them, but just worth noting, maybe we like them as much as we do because they are characters that we've known for 30
kind
years.
of another one that I personally will put in that, although definitely not on the same level, but close, is Beetle.
Yeah, Beetle is also like a legacy character. Everyone else is specific to just this game, which I think speaks well for the uniqueness of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, is there anyone that you want to eliminate here as we are talking through it?
Yeah, one I feel fine eliminating is Gorko. Gorko and Rupin, I would be fine taking both of those off the board. So Gorko is the Goron who is like the archaeologist that you see on the surface multiple times throughout the game. I like Gorko a lot. Great character, fun character design, but not much. We talked about liking the rich inner life of some of these characters and kind of how they have that turn that is either unexpected or really funny. And Gorko doesn't really have that. Gorko,
I mean,
in the
I
game
would
is
argue
like
that he's
what you get.
Yeah, it is what you get, but he's already playing against Goron type, right? That he is a wanderer. You meet him in the Green Forest. He's a merchant. So like I think there is some of that there that like you can intuit his values and like his lifestyle from what he does in the game. But I do think that Gorko, Rupin, and Beetle all fill the weird merchant category. And of those three, Beetle is my favorite.
I think so too.
Which makes me say, Rupin, you and your weird mood swings. Gorko, you're a Goron in the forest. We love you both, but so long.
Rupin, see a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, for real, get some of that under control. Thank you for putting on a brave face to go into work, but like, come on, man. Um, let's talk about plats a little bit. The magmas that I have the hardest time remembering what the name of their species is. I'm sort of off put by all of them. Their weird spindly arms. This one is helpful, and I like that he's scared. I like the treasure chest on his back, but ultimately, I don't love any of the magmas.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really have much to say in defense of Platts that we haven't already said.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, I think he's cute.
Yep. Okay. We are left now. Here's where we are. Patrice, Beetle, Girahim, Birdie, Batro, Kukil, Zelda, and Impa.
So another one that I like, Birdie. This is the one of the potion people, has the baby on his back.
The beleaguered father.
The beleaguered father. But hard to say it's like an all-time great.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm glad he got this far into the conversation. Just that little family is so cute. And I love it.
Very fun.
But yeah, you're right. Get out of here. All right. Let's talk about Girahim.
Yeah. Okay.
That first impression with Girahim is so rough.
I really, really, really struggle with Girahim. I don't know I don't know how I feel about him. I don't know how to reconcile my feelings about Girahim. I think I'm just so deep soul weariness at some of the queer coding tropes and all that kind of stuff that I just don't want to talk about Girahim anymore.
All right, then we're taking Girahim off the board. Which was going to be my impulse there as well. Although I do want to talk about just one more thing about Girahim, is the way he teleports around and leaves those little diamonds in his wake is very Fee-like, right? And the way she dances around, just another way that the game is sort of hinting that they are similar in that regard.
I also just really like aesthetically that his deal is diamonds.
Yeah,
I think it's just it's cool that is I don't know.
Yeah,
that's part of
works.
his design. It's neat. I like that a lot.
I would love to see Girahim in another game. They just need another crack at him. Just give me another crack at Girahim.
I do think that the Nintendo of today would not.
Yeah, I agree.
Would not do that.
I agree. All right.
So let's talk about Kukil and Batro.
Okay.
Because they're connected, not at all the same character, but connected. So I like Kukil. I think Kukil is a very cute kid. Definitely not really in the conversation for best to me.
Right. I mean, a kid, what's more interesting? A kid who wants to be best friends with a monster, or the monster the kid wants to be best friends with? And the answer is always, you're always going to go with Beetlejuice over Lydia, right?
Right.
So all right. So sorry, Kukil. We love you. But if we're going to choose either you or Batro is going to win out. But actually, let's talk about Batro here, because we are down at this point to 5 characters: Patrice, Beetle, Batro, Impa, and Zelda. Actually, let's talk Patrice.
I was thinking just the same thing, because when we named those out, obviously the weak link.
Yes, obviously the weak link. We love how bored she is. We love that all she wants is to hook up with Link.
We've all had jobs where we felt this way.
Totally.
Where we're just every minute just drags by.
Right.
Feels like hours.
Except for those 2 minutes where the cute nurse comes by to get a coffee and you have to make it for her, and you flirt a little bit and you're like, if we could just get together. Anyway, all right, see ya, Patrice. Beetle, Batro, Zelda, and Impa. By the way, Batro, doing great here. He's the only first-timer in this game. Like
I said before, Batro makes, for me, such an impression and sets the tone for Skyward Sword so well, because you reach Batro and you're like, oh, this game is going to be fun. It has a sense of humor. It's going to, have these weird diversions. Funny that there's a demon living under the cemetery that just wants to be friends with people, and you have to get gratitude crystals to make it human. You don't really know, or at least I didn't, that is he telling me the truth? Like,
who
if I
knows?
do this thing? Also,
Yeah.
Batro kind of has like a merchant thing going on because as you collect more
Yeah, he gives
gratitude
you cool
crystal,
stuff.
he gives you like cool stuff, really
He
useful
gives you
stuff.
a cursed medallion.
He does,
though.
but he warns you
That's
not
true.
to use it. You can choose. You can choose to take it. You can choose to use it, but he's like, "Don't do it. That thing's cursed."
Yeah, which is funny and such a Zelda thing too, where it's like, here's an item, it's bad. But I just want to speak to that point of like, oh, this game is going to be fun, and that's sort of like the turn in the characters that we find interesting. I think Beetle does that. Oh, this game is going to be fun from the moment you meet him, because the design of his like flying shop thing is so strange. Because you have to ring a bell on it, so he drops a rope so you can climb up there, and then the turn for him isn't a turn into weird; it's a turn into sad. That when we meet him as a weirdo, we get to know him more and discover like a deep sadness and loneliness about him.
I think, yeah, that's a really good point. I think for me, when I was playing this game, because I had encountered Beetle like times before, most recently in Breath of the Wild, that when I saw him, I was like, oh, cool, it's Beetle. But it didn't have that same like breath of fresh air that like a new character like that.
Totally. We also still have Zelda and Impa on the list here. I think at this point I want to eliminate Zelda.
Just, I really like the relationship between Zelda and Link a lot. I think Zelda is the most of a character.
Yeah.
In these games, it really actually, after playing this, it made me look back on the story of Breath of the Wild and feel even like more down on it.
Oh, sure.
Just because it's so like removed, it's so remote. There's no like connection really between. I feel like there's more of a connection between the champions and Link than there is Zelda and Link, and that is, I guess, like part of the point. Of the story, right?
That
like their
all of the
is very
connections
different.
are absent, right? Like anything that Link had, any connection he had to the world has been destroyed, which is one of the things that makes Skyward Sword so cool, but is also, something that the player misses as well, which probably just makes it thematically stronger, but still we miss it.
But I feel like you never, or at least I don't remember having the catharsis at the end where you're like, and they're like, Link has his memories back. They're great friends
true.
again.
That's
you
true.
know.
But back to Skyward Sword, I do think that the Zelda doesn't necessarily have the sort of like turn that we were sort of describing in these other characters. The like meaningful turn moment or like the time that made me feel was her thing with Impa, and just like realizing that is the same woman,
absolutely,
from thousands of years in the past. So if it comes down to Zelda or Impa, I got to give it to Impa. So Zelda, we love you. We are now down to our final three: Batro, Beetle, and Impa. Rarefy there. Whoever walks away from this, already Heart of a Champion. Mark, do we want to eliminate continue eliminating, or should we try to do like a 1, 2, 3 and see if we land on the same best one at this point?
Can I say, I will just say one thing about
making cases.
I will just say one thing about Impa.
Yes.
And then I think, we should totally see where we land. I'll be really curious if we have the same one in mind. The case I would say against Impa is Impa as like the younger version, the warrior. The joy of this character in general in this game for me is the connection between the reveal that she is the old woman character, because the old woman character, plays the role of this like oracle of this sage, mysterious otherwise, and it makes sense because they're waiting for this like reveal at the end. But because the whole thing, and Impa as like the young like military like protector, not really much of a character, right? And so there's just like not much there other than this reveal at the end that like connects it through time, where you're like, that is so like sweet and cool and awesome.
Well, and you can also tell a lot about characters by who they're important to within the story, and the fact that Impa is very important to Zelda as a young woman and very important to Groose as an old woman. Like you just a lot of what you're already feeling is tied up in like the relationships between the characters, and she has successful relationships with many of the characters, successful, meaningful, important relationships. So I will agree that she's not totally characterized, although she is a little bit as the young Impa, where she has this like the sort of like militarism is like, no, Link, like back off. I
right,
got this.
Like, why are you in the beginning? She's like, why are you even here? Like, you are not strong enough for this.
It
and
doesn't
you're not.
feel good. Yeah,
You're not. Like, that's the whole point of the beginning. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just feel like Impa is a different type of character from these other two than Beetle and Betrothed. Like, the reason we like Impa is I think what you were saying about having connections to so many characters and so many core characters to the game makes Impa a strong contender.
right. And am I in some ways compensating for the fact that Groose was not allowed to be on this list? It's possible. I mean, that is possible. All right, Mark, here's what I propose. I propose that we count down 3, 2, 1, and then we say who we think is the best of these three. If we do not arrive at a unanimous conclusion, we have to continue discussing it.
Yeah, I also think I love this idea. I think if we don't arrive at a unanimous conclusion, the one that neither of us say we can eliminate.
Yes. Great point. Do you know what you're going to say?
I do know what I'm going to say.
Okay. I'm going to listen to my heart while I'm counting down.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep. Oh, sorry. Are we going 3, 2, 1 then saying?
Yeah, because I have to say one. I can't say one and a character's name at the same time. So
unless the character was named one.
But none of these characters are named one.
None of them are.
Okay. All right, here we go. If this works, we are about to say the name of the best NPC in The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. 3, 2, 1. Beetle. Batro is hitting the road. We are down to just Beetle and Impa. Can I ask why you didn't say Batro?
Do you know? It's not for me. It's less why I didn't say Batro and more like why I said Impa.
Yeah.
Right. Or like why I chose. Because I was actually not going to say Impa, but what you said about having like the most connections with characters and like having those be real strong connections that we liked in all of them, I was like, yeah, that's amazing that they were able to do that with a single character, and it puts all the characters that we like in orbit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I went with Impa.
And I think the reason I went with Beetle is just I don't know, the idea of that sort of like sadness and loneliness of the character who retreats to his own island and just like hangs out with his beetles is very sad and interesting. But just in reflecting on that has me thinking about Impa, and when you meet her in the sacred temple as an old lady for the first time, she's been alone for thousands of years, presumably, right?
Right.
She does not seem sad. There is no loneliness to her solitude, and yet she welcomes connections to new characters that come into her life, like Link, like Groose.
Yeah, in some ways, like, she feels very resolute, but in some ways, right, like, I don't know, what strange emotions to be waiting for thousands of years for something that you know is going to happen, and then Link shows up one day, and you're like, oh crap, this is happening.
Right, now is the time.
Yeah.
But, like, keeps her cool and is just, like, gonna get it done.
Yeah. Well, how awful would it be to be waiting thousands of years and then fail?
Well, that's a great point. Okay. Is now the time when we just like break it down 3, 2, 1, and whichever one we say is gonna proceed?
Yeah.
We were split on this last time. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1. Impa. Impa has been declared the best NPC in The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. That is a definitive ruling from the Nintendo Cartridge Society. All right, Mark, let's close this out. I'm so happy with how that played out.
Me too.
It feels earned. It feels right.
Not the one I came in with. Like, I had a different selection in my head when I came in, but I feel much better about this.
Yeah, I thought we were either going to. I thought Betro was going to go all the way. I thought that early, and then he made it far. And obviously, as the character who convinced you the game was going to be fun, he deserves to go that far. Is there anyone that we missed or anyone that we should have given more credit to? If you think that, you can email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. I'd be happy to continue talking about it, but of course our ruling is definitive. Impa is the best NPC in the game. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts. We appreciate it when you do that. You can also share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you share stuff. Great. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Nope, I'm skipping things. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nincart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of 8-Bit Betty's music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying justice for that voice in the toilet. And thank you for listening.
I'm Brian Husky. I'm bald.
And I'm Charlie Sanders, and I'm also bald. And we host Bald Talk on the Campfire Media Network.
Bald Talk is the podcast where two bald comedians talk to anyone bald about being bald.
But this show isn't just for baldies, Brian. Harrows will love it too.
Bald Talk gets into vulnerability, vanity, insecurity, and self-acceptance, reminding us that we all have our respective bald spots. Not that bald spots are a bad thing.
No way. I mean, my entire head is one big bald spot.
It is one huge, beautiful bald spot, Charlie.
Get Bald Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, I have like a little bit of hair, but not like you. Like, you're really bald.
I'm truly bald.
Great. I mean, it's
I'm
great.
balder than you.
You are balder than me.
Only on Bald Talk. Campfire.